So, you ever hear the expression drinking out of a fire hose? That's what's happening with regards to all the changes in college football right now. Because they're not just looking at changing the playoff or dismantling the NCAA with legal cases or this. No, they're looking at National Signing Day too. So National Signing Day has currently got 2 days, which, yes, that is indeed inherently illogical, weird, and strange, and doesn't benefit anybody or anything in the sport. There are discussions ongoing at the highest levels with the decision makers who have done such a great job with this sport to this point about adding a third national signing window. I don't even know how to react to this stuff sometimes because it's like sensory overload in my brain where I hear the idea and I go, so right now you've got the early signing window where about 90% or more of recruiting happens in college football, and commits, end up signing on that particular day, and classes get defined, and sometimes guys flip and everything like that. So when you look at what they've currently got, they added that signing window. I don't know why. The National Signing Day in early February, that's basically been reduced to rubble. I mean, it doesn't have that much juice because there aren't that many players. There's nobody left. And so now they're thinking about adding a third signing window here. So putting signing day, this is according to Greg Sankey, who was talking to Yahoo Sports, quote, putting signing day in the middle of December with playoff games no longer works. Fact check true. Move it to early December, the Wednesday before championship games. Oh, brother. Greg Sankey is a smart guy. Greg Sankey has run the most successful conference in college football for quite a while, and he's pulled away with his league from everybody else, except for now the Big Ten. And still, I think you'd look at the SEC and say they've got a deeper lineup of teams, but the Big Ten certainly is in that discussion with the 4 schools that they have added. This is the right thought, like when a student on a math test starts responding the right way and the teacher's grading it and he goes, good. The student has correctly identified the problem and begins working through. Well, that's not the right solution. Having coaches be required to put together a signing class as they're preparing for bowl games, which is part of the college football season, or now the expanded playoff, is utter insanity. Who does this help? I'm unclear as to who this helps. At the same time, coaches have to deal with transfer portal departures because the transfer portal opens during that time as well, finishing off their signing class for the impending cycle, and preparing for a game that is possibly one that could lead to a national championship season. That's I mean, why would you put that on a coach's plate? And here's the other thing. Since all of these decisions are all being made about television and money and whatnot, I'll just look at it from that particular angle. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to have anything about roster management to take place during the season. That does not compute. And so when you look at what it does from an attention standpoint on shows like this, or Josh Pates, or Joel Klatz, or whatever college football shows you listen to or watch out there. I thank you very much for making this one of those, by the way. I just look at it and say, okay, you've got a whole long offseason. You have got all the time in the world to allow for a natural progression of season is still ongoing, season ends, national season ends with a national championship in early January, and then you have a gap until spring football begins. So if you want to maximize the attention and therefore the number of eyeballs and the revenue that comes into your sport as a result of all that attention, you should have the opportunity to look at every component of that at a time when nothing else is happening. There's no logic to it, and you're working these coaches to death. And I know they're well paid and everything, but you can't possibly. I cannot imagine how a coach would want to be simultaneously scouting and preparing for an opponent, and then also having to recruit someone that isn't going to step foot on your campus in pads until March in almost every case. A couple guys might, be on the sideline in pads for a bowl game and whatnot. But again, the bulk of that recruiting class that will sign will show up in March. Why in the world does this all have to take place in December? So just from that angle, from a media and attention and financial angle, doesn't make sense. But then from a football standpoint, how are you supposed to build cohesion on a team? How are you supposed to operate as a functioning entity? It's amazing at some level that they do, because to have guys leave while the season is ongoing, in the rare instances in which that happens in professional sports, it is frowned upon. It is looked upon poorly. It's seen as that guy sat out games. Someone like, James Harden or a Ben Simmons or somebody like that who, just decided, no, I'm not going to play here. That's not good for the sport. But it happens in droves in college football with a transfer portal. So the time from when the season ends in early to mid-January to when spring football begins, that is when recruiting should take place. I'm not saying every single day. You can work in a dead period. You can work in rules and all that sort of stuff. But to say that the portal and recruiting are logical in any way, shape, or form, and then the solution they're coming up with is, well, what if we had a signing day in June? Who's going to sign in June? Who's signing anytime before the season? Who wants to sign in early December? Those kids might still be playing high school football. Let them finish their seasons. Let them enjoy their seasons. Just stop thinking about the next step all the time. Where's a kid going to go to college and just, overshadow what he's doing in high school? And where's a kid going to go, in the transfer portal? Or where's a kid going to sign? Or where's a kid going to flip? Appreciate things one at a time. You've got the season from the end of August to early December to now mid and end of December will be college football playoff games. It'll end in early January. Then full press and recruiting. Then you've got signing day. Then you take your break. Maybe that's when you want the transfer portal to open up. Or maybe the transfer portal doesn't open up until the spring. And then spring football comes around, which, varies depending on where you are. And then you look at spring football, assess the roster, think about it all season long, come back and do the same cycle. It's all jam-packed into December. I don't understand it. And I appreciate that they're looking at the early signing day and say, well, you can't do it right in the middle of everything. I don't think the solution is to have it in early December. Push it out. Have it be after the season. That's what I would do. But when do I ever get my way? Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.